Hey there, everybody, this is Emar Self2, and welcome to another edition of Technical State of Georgia Athletics podcast. This is actually our only second edition of ever doing this show. Our first edition was around this time last year. We spoke with Georgia State Athletic Director Charlie Cobb. We appreciate his time then, and we're trying to get him back as soon as we can. But with the launch of college athletics in the state of Georgia taking place within the next, I think, 7 to 14 days in various forms, we decided to bring the show back and focus specifically on Georgia State athletics. Not only the school or the university, but we're going to talk about Georgia, Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State, Mercer, Georgia Southern, and a bunch of others. But as always, want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, which is the premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. We have been doing our Sports Inquirer podcast over the past few weeks, and that's been very enjoyable. So make sure you go there and check those out. We also were able to speak with get several exclusive interviews with various sports entities, such as head coach of Georgia Tech volleyball, Michelle Collier and Sally Polhamus from Georgia State volleyball. And we'll also talk to their players as well. We'll go over all of those throughout the show, but if you want to get those exclusive interviews in full form in audio and video, make sure you head to thesportsinquirer.net and check those out. You can also go to our social media platforms, starting with Twitter and Instagram, under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. Next up, you go to Facebook. You go to our pages there, The Sports Inquirer and Sports Inquirer. And finally, if you want to subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcast, and iTunes, and iHeartRadio. I got a notice from them. I have to finalize that as well. But make sure you go to those other platforms. Let's get our podcast, and you can check us out there under The Sports Inquirer. That's all one word, and you can check it out. Well, we're going to start off with college football, which took place this past weekend. We're recording this on September 7th, 2020. Happy Labor Day out there to those of you listening in the United States. Hope you're enjoying it or being safe and doing what you want to this time of year. So as we're recording this on September 7th, by the time a lot of you listen to this show, most of your teams will either be playing or have their schedule out, at least for the 2020 campaign in the Southeast, and that includes the state of Georgia, of course. And we'll start off with Georgia State football. They were originally scheduled to play their season opener at home against Murray State on September 3rd, but it was canceled due to COVID. And they also were going to play Alabama this weekend, upcoming weekend, on September 12th, but that was also canceled for the same reasons. We spoke with head coach Shawn Elliott about the training of the team and how they are coping with these different changes to their schedule. So here is Coach Elliott discussing those matters.
We're all sitting in here, together, but unfortunately we're not, and we're trying to facing different challenges every single day. But we are excited about the upcoming football season, one that's going to be played here at Georgia State University, and we've got a game here in 17 days that we're preparing for with Louisiana Lafayette coming into our place, and it's just announced there there's going to be a noon game on that Saturday on ESPN2. So we've got something really to look forward to. It has been a kind of an up and down roller coaster ride of emotions and actions here in the last, I guess you can say, over the course of the last month, from, battling so many different issues off the field with COVID testing and just everything that you can imagine. It's been a different fall camp for us, one unlike any I've ever seen, to tell you the truth. But I think our team is focusing. They're working hard, and they're moving forward. And, this season is going to be about distractions and how you manage distractions and how you continue to push forward and really focus on the game of football. And I think we have a strong-minded group, and I think they can do that and be prepared for the season. So, right now we're still in camp, and we'll probably break out of camp starting next Monday and start working with our scouts and pushing towards that first ball game against Louisiana.
And that was Georgia State head coach Shawn Elliott discussing the training of the team. And also we followed up with the conditions that the team is having to deal with or adjust to as far as safety concerns of handling the coronavirus and the precautions that are being taken for their training camp.
There's so many guidelines now as us coaches and players and meetings. Everything's different. It's I'm not going to sit here and paint you a picture and say it's the greatest thing ever. I mean, because it's really not. I've got to wear a shield. I've got a mask on out there practicing. That's difficult for me, but it's something we have to do, and it's something we're going to continue to do. And we're doing what we can as far as distancing our players, but we're practicing the game of football, so that's very, very hard. And we all understand what we're up against right here, so we're trying to make it the best we can.
And that was Shawn Elliott discussing the training conditions for the team. They do have their first scheduled match as we're recording the show against Louisiana Lafayette or University of Louisiana on September 19th. That'll be their first Sun Belt match of game of the season. They have a non-conference contest against Charlotte scheduled as of now, but their schedule is a majority of the Sun Belt Conference, and that's what a lot of teams are doing. When we get to the ACC and the SEC, it's the same concept. And you have some teams that are able to, like Georgia Southern, is able to get, I think, two non-conference, F3, because they play Army in November, as I said, we're recording the show. And I'm going to say that a lot throughout the broadcast because it's a fluid situation. As I said, we've had this happen at least once or twice. We record the show, we make announcements, or we say one thing, and then by the time we get to the next show, it's a whole different deal. So be working with us, and well, it's not working with me necessarily, but just be adjustable to everything that we're saying. But as I said earlier, that there's Georgia State football scheduled to play September 19th against Lafayette in their first game of the season. This is a Sun Belt contest. And following what I was saying with Georgia Southern, is that they have several non-conference contests, like they play Campbell and they play Army later on in the year as of now. But Georgia Southern, or Georgia State, they have at least one non-conference game against Charlotte, but they're going to start off against Lafayette. Here is Coach Elliott discussing the start of practice and preparing for Lafayette.
Helmets and go out there and to run and catch and do a lot of different things, and to be back on the football field participating in football related, fundamental drills. It was really good for us. You can tell that we've been off that field for quite a long time. Not really been able to throw and catch over the summer like we normally do. But we got a ways to go. But I think everybody was thrilled to be out there running and playing the game of football.
And that was Shawn Elliott discussing the start of practice. And here is Coach Elliott discussing the team's attempt to stay focused with kind of similar to talking about the conditions with the training, but staying focused and avoiding the monotony of a long training camp.
I talked a little bit about distractions. And I think if we can minimize those distractions and really focus on the game itself, not bringing the outside into the facility, and that's hard this day and age, because in this day and age, you pick up your phone, you turn on the television, and you get pulled in so many directions that it's hard for a young man. It's hard for coaches. But what we're trying to do right now as a football team is bring everybody into here together. I call it kind of the tunnel vision aspect. You got to have blinders on like a racehorse, and you got to see what's in front of you, and you got to see what's ahead of you, your goals that are ahead of you, and you can't let anything to the right or left of you gain your attention, because as soon as it does, it's just going to pull you back. So we're trying to stay focused and limit those distractions, and like I said, keep moving forward to that first game.
And here's Coach Elliott further stating his thoughts on avoiding that monotony and breaking things up with their training schedule.
You have to choke things back a little bit. You can't go full speed ahead. I mean, right now we're practicing 4 and 5 days a week, and we're giving them multiple days off, continuous days off to get their bodies back. And, we understand you can't go out there and you can't practice over and over and over again without just becoming so, like I said, the monotony of it becoming boring and stale and not getting anything accomplished. You can choke it back. You can do some more special teams type work. You can focus on individual instruction. You can focus on different teams within your team, whether it's your special teams, your punt team, or whatever it can be, and you can take a slow approach to it. So, we've tried to do that for the most part. We didn't practice for a number of days because we had some COVID issues, so that gave them a little bit of break. But when we were able to come back and get started, we've been kind of business as usual, 4 and 5 days a week with a couple of days off.
All right, so that was Coach Elliott. We were able to speak with him as part of a presser earlier in the month, or like last week. about everything that's going on. Let's transition to Georgia Tech. They have a contest scheduled for September 12th at Florida State. So they are playing a majority ACC schedule. They do get to play Central Florida at home on September 19th in a non-conference tilt. But besides that, it's going to be all ACC play. And here is Coach Geoff Collins, head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, discussing his early preparations for Florida State.
Yeah, so obviously the personnel piece, you obviously start with the Florida State roster. And the first thing that pops off is just tremendous athleticism, size, speed. So the skill positions are some of the finest in the country. The defensive lineman is one of the best players in America. So you start with the personnel first, and then you go and look at where they've come from, where the coordinators have come from, and start working that way as well. But the personnel piece, you always have to start there, and then the schematic piece is how what they've done at other places translates into the personnel that they have. And obviously they've got a lot of really good pieces to work with. And just the thing, I didn't coach against Coach Norvell when we were in the AAC together, but in the crossover tape was always impressed with how hard they played, the physicality, the culture, because they play really, really hard. So we understand that we've got a big challenge. Obviously there's some unknowns, but I think the biggest thing is having base offenses, base defenses that we've repped hundreds of times versus every look imaginable. Just apply your rules to whatever scheme might pop up that might be some form of unknown. And one of the base premises in this culture is to play with ridiculous effort. And you have those kind of things, you have overlap on both sides of the ball.
And now it's Coach Collins discussing Florida State and preparations for that contest. Now he's entering the second year with the program. Last year, the team was 3-9 in his first year with the squad. We all know that there was a big transition from the triple option offense that the previous head coach Paul Johnson had, and Collins is transitioning into a more traditional pro set offense and trying to increase the size on both sides of the lines on offense and defense, and just really a change in culture for Georgia Tech football. Here's him discussing how the fall of 2020 has been going in comparison to the fall of 2019.
Sure. Well, I think, obviously that gets, there's a perception of what it is every single day. When we look at them in their eyes and we go out here and we work and we practice and we have them in meetings and all of those things, there's a lot of positivity within the program. They understand our culture. They understand our expectations. Everything has been elevated since that we've been here in every single one of those respects. And now it's the fine-tuning of incremental details to be at the highest level possible. Obviously, when you go against an opponent, it gets even more real, and you get to really see where some things might still need to improve or where things are that are really, really good. But I'm excited every single day that we get to come out here. We return so much production offensively and defensively. So many players are coming back that have played in our system. So when I say today is a Tuesday practice, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Today is a Wednesday practice. They know exactly what I talk about. Any tweaks or adjustments, it's not a wholesale change. That is just first time experiencing it, so you can make incremental tweaks to things. We've added some tremendous length and speed on this roster. The young guys have come in and picked it up really, really well. It's a different year, obviously, because normally when you come in, the freshmen, the signees come in early June, and you've got a whole time to build the mindset, and they're all working out together and they're all running together. We've not done that. So all the running workouts, the freshmen were by themselves. We had 9 cohorts spread out throughout the team. So the team really never practiced together until really well into the first week of training camp. And so that piece of it, we're still developing, but I think that's around the country, around college football, because every time we do get together, hey, make sure you're staying 6 feet apart, make sure your masks are on, make sure. So there is some kind of layers that we've got to continue to build upon in this new environment that we're all functioning in. But just really proud of the guys that are returning, how they have picked up where we left off after the 6th day of spring ball. how they've continued to develop this culture and our mindset and our effort and those kind of things, and then embraced the development of this really, really talented signing class we were able to bring in.
And that was Coach Collins discussing just the differences in the approach and the way things are on the flats in Atlanta. Other notes as far as teams moving on, or teams that are having their football schedules. We mentioned Georgia Southern. They open at home against Campbell on September 12th. Georgia, they open up their schedule at Arkansas on September 26th. And as we record this right now, Mercer and Kennesaw State football for the fall of 2020 has been suspended. They plan to, those conferences plan that they're in, plan to play football in the spring of 2021. If we get any updates of any changes with that, we'll let you know. I don't think there'll be too many changes with that going on. I think those conferences are pretty set in their ways as far as that goes. But as I said, this is non-Georgia related, but we've seen the Big Ten and the Pac-12 make announcements about different types of testing that they want to do for the coronavirus, which can maybe open the door for those major conferences or to start playing football in the fall. I think the drop-dead date, you really have to have it by this week because we already had contests take place. I was watching Texas State and SMU and Memphis and Arkansas State. Tonight, Navy, don't say, I was thinking the Army with Georgia Southern. Navy is playing BYU, so the college football schedule is taking place. It's happening as we record this now. And the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, as well as the Southern Conference and the things like that, they are not. They don't have a schedule out with their teams. There's a certain point where you have to have a schedule out to get at least a certain amount of games in for your season. So that's where Mercer and Kennesaw State, they get thrown into that scenario, and they are not playing right now. And I think they're going to try to move on to the spring of 2021, but we'll see what happens there. Let's transition to volleyball and the things going on around the state of Georgia. We were able to speak with Sally Polhamus about the team and their preparations for the 2020 campaign. They're going to play 18 matches in total, mostly in the Sun Belt Conference. They have an exhibition contest against Chattanooga, which is not in the Sun Belt, on September 12th before the regular season opener at home against Mercer on September 18th. We were able to speak with Sally for an exclusive interview about the upcoming season and the preparations for the 2020 campaign. Here is Sally discussing the team and what the preparations have been. Coach, I was doing my research. I didn't realize it's been 7 years since you took to position. Does it feel like 7 years? And what do you just learned from your first 6 years with the program heading into year 7?
It definitely does not feel like 7 years. There's been such incredible growth through the university, through our program, all of those things. Feel like the players that we have coming in, we're consistently growing and getting better, striving for more and more. This year has been, great as far as the preseason and how we've grown in that. Just such a different environment, having so much more time and getting our players back in shape. And so this year, out of all the years, is just so different with the 2.5 weeks we usually have till almost a month and a half. So that has been in a lot of ways refreshing and good for our players, for the mental growth, all of that.
Yeah, we'll go to the fall, but take me back to the spring when the pandemic started. How did that impact your spring schedule? Because I'm sure you would have done some scrimmages and done some other activities during the spring and into the summer. So when did you get to do a little bit in the winter or the spring? Take me to earlier part of this calendar year.
So we had our individuals and just started our team practice, so 20 hours a week in the spring. And we actually had a match scheduled with Kennesaw State on Friday, and everything was shut down Thursday night. And so that was actually the Thursday before we went on to spring break. So the players went on spring break not really sure of what was going to happen, if it was just going to be a 2-week period or what was going on. And then the next day, the NCAA canceled all spring sports. So that was a big domino effect. We had great timing, but really sad that we didn't get that match with Kennesaw State in just one day too late. But had a really good spring training. I had a great core of people that wanted to learn. We did Zoom calls all summer and really worked on watching national team play, watch our team play. It was a really good mental growth period for us.
Yeah, what about this summer period? Were you able to see the players at all? Or you said were you able to give them workouts? How did they prepare before you started fall camp?
So no in-person contact until the end of July. So that was a big change, of course, for us. We had 5 players that lifted in the month of July. So they worked with our strength coach, and then our strength coach, JD Melhorn, who is amazing. He did workouts, virtual workouts, or sent workouts home to all of our players, but a lot of them didn't have access to gyms. A lot of the states were shut down until the end of July. So really whatever they had in their home was what they were able to work with. So that's why this preseason has been really nice to get us back and our bodies healthy and strong before we really got into the volleyball aspect.
And how different has this spring been, or how the fall been? Are students on campus? What's the procedure, just safety wise, and the amount of time you can have with them as compared to a typical fall camp?
Well, first, I want to start out with just our sports arena and how great the protocols have been, from lifting in the summer to our preseason practices, our protocols for locker rooms. Everything is very in place. Our players believe in it, understand the protocols and why they're in place. So that's been really good. I think that our dorms have done a fantastic job getting students moved back in, so they completely changed all the protocols for that, getting them moved in smaller segments. The campus, social distancing on campus, every area from cafeterias to classrooms. So I am very proud and feel very confident of what Georgia State has put in place for the safety of our students and our student athletes.
Now, does that affect you as far as the amount of plays you can have on the court, how many drills you can run? Just has that been impacted once you get into the building onto the practice court as far as how you prepare for the season?
So the beginning, as we started preseason, we had small pods, basically whoever their roommates were. And so we did about a week of just small group trainings. So individuals for about an hour, and then moved on after that time frame to a team practice and an individual in the afternoon. And then we just did one team practice each day. And so that was pretty much all of August. That was our schedule. And now once school started, we just have our normal practice slot of 3:30 to 6. And they do temperature checks when they enter the building, symptom checks. All of those things are a daily process for us.
And talking NCAA wise, or Sun Belt specifically, what is like preparing for a season when a schedule hasn't been released yet? I don't know if it's officially been announced if you're going to be in the fall or the spring. I know the NCAA, you could correct me on this stuff. I think that the tournament they're pushing towards the spring portion of the year. I think as we speak right now on September 2nd. I have to say that every time with all this stuff. But I know it changes every day, literally. But as we speak right now, just what's it like preparing for? You don't know where the schedule is. You don't know if you're playing later on this month or you're not going to play maybe until January, February. How do you just prepare for all this stuff?
Well, we are very blessed. We're one of I believe it's now 4 conferences that are playing. So we'll play a segment of our season here in the fall. Excuse me, of all times. So even though the championship will be in the spring, we're still playing a full fall season. So our schedule actually was finalized today. Football, we had it finalized last week, and then football had an adjustment yesterday, which is very exciting, that ESPN2 picked up a lot of the football games, which changed some of the dates, which kind of maneuvered our schedule slightly. So we're hoping to release our schedule tomorrow or Friday. We'll play a full 16 matches in conference. We have 2 non-conference opponents. So very excited. Next Saturday, the 12th of September, will be our first competition. And our first home competition will be the 18th of September.
Okay, so you have at least a schedule going on with that. Now, do you know if there can be fans at the attendance, or are there going to be video? How do you know that part of it, as far as people that are want to see the team in action? Do you know those details yet?
So when we play Chattanooga, which is on the 12th of September, that is a closed game. And so it will be streamed, but there will be no fans there. We are finalizing the protocol for Georgia State, the sports arena, and it looks like we have some very good options for fans. It hasn't been confirmed yet, though.
Yeah, and one last thing before we get to the current roster, how did it affect recruiting? I know that I talked to other coaches, it really affected their process. But I know in volleyball, a summer is a very active period for you. What was that like as far as those summer months maybe not being in the tournaments and especially the club volleyball season as you normally would?
Definitely, with only seeing really just less than a month of club volleyball, where we do most of our recruiting for the sophomores and juniors, and having that shut down and going to a dead period. So the ability for them even to come on our campus, for us to go out and watch them, we've had to rely on video if a team is even playing. We've seen a little bit of everything from the high schools around the country pushing their season to the spring, playing now, but the whole team is quarantined. So there's been lots of ups and downs through the high school ranks of playing, but really having to rely on video and a lot of Zoom calls. And I would say the positive of everything is the connection you can have with the players, the relationships. The harder part is the evaluation process, seeing the growth of the player, all of those things, especially that jump from your sophomore to junior year with strength and athletic ability and just volleyball skill. We haven't been able to see that, nor have they gotten a lot of that training yet. So that has definitely changed our recruiting.
And now this year's team, did you have any talks? I'm not go specifics, but were there any players that were considering sitting out or redshirting this year, or sitting out this year, or maybe pushing their eligibility? And what about some of the other players that had their season cut short last year? What was the process like for you determining this roster that you're going to have as far as eligibility goes?
So we were very lucky in the spring. We don't train with our seniors, so we had just all of our returners back. So the severance of our spring season was more of an impact on training, but not necessarily roster management. Then it was very much a blessing that the NCAA has allowed us to have the eligibility through this year, so we don't have to count competitions for players, that players can full out train and compete and not worry about using a year of eligibility. So that has been such a great blessing for our players and their mindsets and training. I think everyone over the next couple months will be working on roster management going forward, but that's going to be a very fluid situation. I feel like that's a key word right now. Everything is fluid, but just the NCAA coming out with that legislation has really freed up a lot of schools that are playing this fall to compete at a high level and not worry about eligibility.
And you have 5 seniors on the roster right now. Just discuss them individually and just how they've helped with this process of you getting acclimated to this unique season.
I have been unbelievably impressed with our seniors, their flexibility, their constant change. They have been prepared and able to make those changes on a daily basis. Something that happens today might change tomorrow. So their mentality, their work ethic, their understanding that a lot of schools don't have the opportunities that we have, that each day is a blessing to get in and practice and play and compete and lift. And so we're definitely taking advantage of this opportunity.
Right. And just lastly, what's the next 7 to 10 days look like? You said that you can announce, I guess, so next Friday will be your first contest. How does that change your approach now that you finally have a date as far as your training and how you're going to approach the next few days?
Yes. And so we'll head up to UT Chattanooga the Saturday the 12th, and that will be just a prep game. We'll have our offensive systems in, all of that. And so really leading up, this is kind of our last week of preseason. And then next week will be a full match prep week. And then the following week, we'll have one match. The interesting with our kind of adjustment with our conference is we'll be playing 3 matches in a weekend with our conference, 2 matches on Friday, 1 match on Saturday, which gives us a lot of matches and play, but we have to make sure our bodies are prepared for that, especially our pin hitters or middles that see a lot of jumps and just a lot throughout a match. So that preparation is what we've been really focusing on the last 2 weeks since we've known our conference schedule has been set.
Okay, and that was head coach Sally Polhamus from Georgia State Volleyball. Appreciated her time and her speaking with us and breaking down everything that's going on with the team. We also were able to catch up with head coach Michelle Collier of Georgia Tech Volleyball. They opened their season on September 24th at Miami. They are going to play 8 matches in total in the fall. They're going to have 4 home matches and 4 road contests. All the ACC teams were separated into 3 regions of 5 teams, and Georgia Tech is going to be in a region which includes Miami and Florida State. We were able to speak with head coach Michelle Collier about the season and everything that has been going on in preparation for it. All right, Sports Quiet here with Coach Collier. First, talking about the off season. We'll start with the fall. How have the past few weeks of practices been going for the team as you prepare for the season?
Yeah, definitely just very grateful to be back on the court with them. I think there were a couple rough months out there where we had to be apart and just kind of do a lot of stuff on their own. So we're definitely excited about the opportunity to just have everybody back and everybody's healthy. And, Georgia Tech's doing a great job keeping us safe and all their measures with safety and all that stuff. It's been really good. So we feel great. It's been awesome. And we're just kind of taking a day at a time.
How has this fall camp been different than previous camps as far as not only the health part of things, but the students, as far as their classes and their schedule, the virtual situation? How's that been different compared to your previous few years at school?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest things was not having, a set date on when we know exactly when we're going to start our schedule, who we're playing. All these things are definitely, it was hard to just kind of plan out. As coaches, we usually tend to be able to plan out the year and the phases and the training. And really, the NCAA took a long time to kind of come up with some parameters on what was going to happen this fall, and then the ACC. And so we were just kind of waiting to see what all those things were going to happen. But I think that our mentality when we were allowed back into the school and on campus and allowed back into training was to just really make the most out of each day. So not really leave anything in the tank, to just kind of, well, but what if this happens or what if this happens? So we didn't play with the what ifs too much. We just kind of prepared as to be the best that we could. If, we had to play tomorrow, we would try to put ourselves in the best situation possible. So it's just been interesting to kind of have to deal with that and not have control. Coaches are usually, used to having control of the situation and dates and planning. And so for us, not having that control, it really was about just staying positive, understanding that this was going to get better eventually. And until then, we just got to do the best that we can with what we have. So.
What about the spring period? We've talked in the past how important that is for you as far as the transition from your graduating seniors to your underclassmen, and you even have some freshmen come in. How was that different this spring? And then even coming into the summer, just the interaction that you're able to have with your returning players?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. We returned a lot of players, and this spring was going great. We had a foreign tour planned to go to Brazil as well for more some training and matches during that time. And so we really just had to readapt like everybody else. And, we at first we couldn't do anything with them. So we basically just kind of touched base with them to make sure that they were doing okay, that their family was doing okay. And then eventually the NCAA gave us the green light to do about 8 hours of virtual things with them. So we started investing into a lot of training like that. We watched a lot of matches. We watched all our upcoming opponents from the conference and who they have coming back and what are their strengths and weaknesses, and watch a lot of international games and try to just kind of analyze that, get better at seeing the right things, and hopefully being able to bring some of that back into the gym. And so we worked with a company called The Program, and they do a lot of stuff. They've done stuff with that men's basketball and football, and about team culture and just developing our standards and our core values, and how do we get better as a team? How do our players become more accountable? Because a lot of that stuff they were doing on their own, and so that weren't too much guidance from our strength coach or from the coaches, and so they had to become very disciplined, and so we used that time to figure out how do we get better within the situation that we were given. And I was just really, really proud of the way that we did everything. I mean, even my assistant coaches, they had to, learn how to get comfortable talking about volleyball and doing video presentations and things like that. And we all had to learn really fast on how to continue to be a team without that physical contact and that physical interaction. And I definitely think that we did the best that we could with that time, and we kept getting better on the things that we could get better at. And we definitely put ourselves in a better position when we came back to the gym. So just really proud of how we all came together and just kind of embraced it, whatever it was that we were going through, to try to make the most out of it.
And then one more off-court question. The summer is also an active recruiting time for you, especially with the club volleyball season. How was that impacted for you? Was it a different approach? Was it more video and more scouting from that perspective, as you mentioned earlier? Or were you able to actually see some more players maybe on a local level that you could actually drive to, as opposed to anything like that?
No, we could not. It was a completely dead period, so we couldn't be recruiting anywhere besides just in our home, watching some videos, and just some highlights that people send us. But we had, we were working on our 21 and 22 class, and we had already identified a lot of the kids that we wanted to be in contact with. And, we just kind of were hoping to have a chance to watch them play a little bit more. And we didn't. And obviously official visits and all these things were going to be very, very important. And we were not able to provide them with that experience. So we basically just kind of kept in touch, did a lot of Zoom calls and, video calls with their families, with our support staff, with our players, really trying to give them the best picture possible about what is it like to be a part of our program without them really being physically here. We're definitely really excited about just our future classes and about where we are with our program and the direction that we're going. So we just kind of approach it as if this is what we got, let's do the most that we can with what we got. And we just kind of stay positive and try to get better. That way, identify some kids through videos, watch, go through our emails and just kind of shape up some things, revisit some things, really just use the time to slow it down a little bit and get better on some of the things, and then really be ready to go when we have an opportunity to get off campus again. But until then, we try to focus a lot on our current team as well and the things that they had going on and how to keep us moving forward.
How beneficial was it last season to go through? We've spoken about not making the NCAA tournament and the disappointment in that, but then able to recover, rebound, and win a national championship, especially on an opposing court. And a lot of those players are back for you this year. How beneficial was that for them to go through that as you prepare for the 2020 year?
Winning a championship is not easy at any level in any circumstances. So we definitely are very proud of what we were able to accomplish. We were one of the few teams in the country that finished the season on a win. So it definitely helped us carry momentum over to the spring. And I think that it speaks a little bit about our culture and how we deal with things and how do we deal with adversity and things like that. And it's not much different than what we're dealing with right now. We'll focus on the things that we can control, the things that we do have, and we try to make the most out of that. And we definitely feel like we did that. We had a mission. We wanted to win that championship. We felt like we were playing very good volleyball. We were one of the best teams in the country that were playing at the time. And so, we competed at a level that we were playing at. And it was great. I mean, South Dakota had a great environment. It was a great experience for our team to be able to win that match in their court. It was awesome. And so I think that our players learned a lot from it. And we definitely created some memories and some lifelong moments together that are going to be really special. And, we're going to hopefully keep building off of that.
You're heading into year 7, I believe. I think technically is your 7th campaign. Just talk about your experiences and what's been the biggest thing that you've been happy with as far as from when you started the program to where it is now. We talked about facilities, the athleticism of the team. What are some hallmarks that you've seen that the team's improved on a lot of in your tenure?
I think we improved in everything. I really think that our program has grown tremendously. But it started with the kids that were here when I first got here. And I was so lucky to have a great group of kids that really bought in and trusted and believed in the things that I was doing. And, our staff evolved through the years. And I've been very lucky to have had great assistant coaches come through my program and help me continue to move forward with the vision of what I wanted to build. And so, I think that it's been really, really fun. I think that our program is at a great level right now. I feel like I'm very excited to just get back on the court, compete again, and keep growing. I think that we're talking to some high-level recruits. We just had a $5 million gift donated to us to redo our O'Keefe pretty much and revamp it and make it even better than what already is. I believe over the last 4 years, we were second in the ACC in home, in home wins and in our records at home. And so we love O'Keefe. We think that this facility is going to give us even higher chances of continuing to do things at a very high level. It's going to be very performance oriented, really trying to give our players the best that we can for them to be the best that they can on and off the court. So I'm really excited about that project and to get that going. And very grateful for the Zelnacs who are our donors to really trust the things that we're doing and, believe that really it was worth the investment, and our players for working hard on and off the court, being great representatives of our program. And so just very, very proud of every little step along the way that I've had to take, and really very proud of how we did it too. Not only the things that we did, but how we have done it. I felt like we treated our players with a lot of love and respect, and we pushed them to be their best, and we created an environment but it's a positive environment. It's happy, it's exciting, but at the same time, it's very competitive and with high standards. And so, I think that it's a fun part to be a part of our program, and we're just excited to keep raising the bar.
And then lastly, you mentioned getting back on the court. How do you prepare for a season when you don't have an official first regular season matchup? How do you avoid the team? How do you avoid the monotony and finding new training methods and things like that? You're going to play in the fall at some point, but you don't know when and where yet. How do you get the team and keep them motivated? Because I'm sure they're been in the middle of a lot of drills and core conditioning right now.
Yeah, I mean, our job is just to get better, and I think that being away from volleyball and being away from our training environment really showed us how much we miss our family, our volleyball family here. I mean, it's an awesome environment. We missed our kids a lot, and just being able to have them back on the court. And I know they missed us too. And I know they missed the gym and the training and everything that comes around with just being a part of our program. And so we're just grateful that we're able to be on that court doing what we love to do. And so I think that, yes, having a date and having all those goals are important, but at the same time, we just got to really embrace every opportunity that we do get to get better, to play with each other, to enjoy just being in our environments. So it was challenging, but not that challenging. I felt like our players were definitely very excited to be back, and they understand the value of this opportunity, and they're grateful for just each little day we get to get after it. I know the ACC came out with the schedule, so hopefully that will be out to you soon. I don't want to talk too much without really being released, but we do have a set date scheduled already. Yesterday we kind of narrowed it down, so we got some goals and some matches coming up that we're excited for. And then again, it's one day at a time. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but we're just going to kind of, make the most out of today and keep getting better.
Oh, and that was Michelle Collier, Georgia Tech volleyball head coach, discussing the upcoming season. I also want to make a note, if you want, with going back to Georgia State, please head to our site and hear our exclusive interview with players Leah Wilcox and Misha Griffin. We were able to speak with them about the upcoming season, as well as Georgia Tech volleyball players Maddie McKissick and Michaela Dowd. So make sure you go to the site and check those interviews out. And that is everything going on with volleyball. And we're hoping to get some more content as well. We're going to speak with Georgia State and some of their soccer players, and we're going to talk to Georgia as well. I have not reached out necessarily to the University of Georgia because their schedules have not been announced yet, so it's hard to give a gate. They're going to play as we're recording the show, so when we get a schedule and when we get some confirmation, we'll be able to make sure to get them onto our show and give you as much information as we can. And that concludes the second edition of the Technical State of Georgia Athletics. Make sure you head to thesportsinquirer.net for all of our news and notes. Head to Twitter and Instagram under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. So head to Twitter and Instagram on those pages to check it out. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcast, and iTunes. Just search the Sports Inquirer. You can subscribe on there and get all of our latest shows. Until next time, good fight, good night.